Hi everybody and welcome to the Dental Podcast from Denplan. My name's Tom and I'm your host today. This week we're going to be talking about our cycling events that are hosted by Denplan and will be taking part at the end of this year and in 2022. I'm sure some of you will be familiar with these events, and for those who aren't aware, head over to www.bit.ly/Denplan events. So first of all, I'd like to introduce everybody. So if Kathryn, if you could tell us a bit more about yourself.
Oh, thanks, Tom. Hi, I'm Kathryn. I'm part of the events team here at Denplan, part of Simply Health. Been actually part of the team 11 years now. Feels like a very long time. Over that time, I've done lots of different cycle events, and I look forward to talking a little bit more about them in a minute.
Thanks. Andy, could you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Okay. Thanks, Tom. I qualified as a dentist back in 1990, back in Birmingham. So my first job was actually in 1991, where I did my vocational training up in the Midlands. I became an associate dentist back in Birmingham again in the 90s, and actually moved down south in 97. So I owned my own practice for quite a long time, 18 years, and then I sold it about 6 years ago. So now I work at Southampton General Hospital, a little bit at Winchester Hospital, and I do half a day in general practice, being a relatively normal dentist. They also use me as the dental practice use me as their surgical guy. So if there's any teeth that they want to take out that they don't fancy, then I end up doing it, which is fine by me. So that's what I do at the moment.
Oh, fabulous. So could you tell us about how you got into cycling and any of your cycling achievements?
So growing up, don't worry, this isn't going to be a long story. I grew up in the 70s and there was a lot less traffic, and my parents were keen to kick me out of the house early in the morning, and I wouldn't come back home again till tea time. So a bicycle was the only method of moving around the countryside. So I cycled a lot as a kid. But then, you go to university and my main sports weren't really cycling related. Fast forward to this century, and I started doing some triathlon, and eventually realized that running's okay. Swimming is far too dangerous because you can drown, but I actually quite enjoyed the cycling part of it. And of the three disciplines, the cycling was my best bit. I was better at that than the other two. So I decided to focus just on that. And so I've been cycling, I would say, reasonably seriously. I've been cycling now for about 15, 16 years. And gradually you do more and more events. You do just some organized stuff, and then you maybe start competing, and you do longer and longer distances. And so I've done all of those sorts of things and just got more and more into the cycling. And then obviously to combine that with what I do in my day job was excellent. No doubt we'll come along to how these events happen and what we do on them. But it was great to find that I could do some cycling events with like-minded dentists, so that not only was it fun on the road, but in the evenings we could do some continuing professional development and chat about that sort of stuff as well.
Oh, fantastic.
So, yeah.
And Kenton, so same to you really. So if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been a dentist, where you work, and how and when you got into cycling as well. Was it as a similar story to Andy, or?
Fairly similar. I mean, we've had slightly different career paths. I qualified in 1990 at King's College in London. Went straight out into practice in New Milton, actually, in Hampshire, which is where I've sort of gone full circle really now, because I ended up buying the practice years later after having worked many other places. So here I am now. I've also gone full circle with King's, because I'm back at King's now as a mature student, studying endodontics there. So I'm working for a diploma on that. So I've been dentist for quite some time. for the last 20 years, I've owned my own practice. So I've been a Denplan dentist since about 2002. So yeah, that's me really.
Were you a keen cycler when you were younger?
So with cycling, it's I didn't really get into cycling until probably around 2007, and I used to play a lot of football. So I was trying to think of ways to keep fit for football. So I do a bit of running, but that's quite hard on the knees. So I decided to try a bit of cycling, and before very long, I started to find it was quite addictive. And this is how I got involved with some of the Denplan cycling events, because I kind of was looking for something to work towards. And then I think at the time it was the John O'Groats to Land's End event came up, and I thought, wow, imagine being able to do that. Because at the time I was nowhere near sort of cycling fit enough to do something like that, but it gave me a goal. So, I had sort of 6 months to train, managed to sort of hook my mountain bike out, which I then later replaced with a sort of an entry-level road bike, which I think is much better for the John O'Groats to Land's End. And that was it really. And once I'd done that event, that was it for me. It was just cycling was everything. And gradually I think age took its toll, so the football kind of took a bit of a back seat, and then it was cycling all the way. And like Andy, I think it kind of marries quite well with dentistry. I would say, dentistry is a fairly sedentary profession, so you need something that's completely different from that. But it just so happens lots of other dentists like cycling, so there's quite a good circle of dentists, and that's another thing which probably we'll touch on more later. The Denplan events kind of bring you into contact with other dentists that are keen on cycling from all over the country. So you'll meet people from Scotland, and you'll get to be good friends with people you would never really met them through dentistry, and probably would have never met them through just cycling alone. But the two together, it works really well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, it sort of brings me on to my next point really. So it's going back to Kathryn. So Kathryn, can you talk us through some of the events that we do and sort of how they came about, especially the most recent one as well, and the sort of the Discover cycling events?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, I've been in the team for 11 years, and actually when we first started, the cycling events we did were mainly charity events. Now, I actually love cycling myself. Like I like cycling, not to any lengths as maybe Andy and Kenton cycle, but like when I can. And so I actually love being part of them and getting kind of organising them. So as I think both Andy and Kenton said, I mean, some of them we've done at Joggle, John O'Groats to Land's End, which is a huge cycle challenge for anyone. Like literally how they did it. Like I can't just getting on that bike every day and travel another 100 miles. I think it's an absolutely incredible achievement for our cyclists. And other ones we've done is Wales End to End, which was our most recent one in 2019. Oh, wow. We've done Coast to Coast, Northern and Devon. We've done the South Downs Way, which was on mountain bikes, so a little bit different, that one. We cycled around Strangford Lough in Northern Ireland. We've done Hadrian's Wall. And actually, there's a lovely picture of Hadrian's Wall by one of our dentists, Andy Ruffle, who has actually held the bike over his head standing on, which was a great Instagrammable moment. We've cycled Ireland top to bottom, which actually both Andy and Kenton did that one, which was really good. And we did Paris to London as well, which that was back in 2017, which will probably go down as the most hottest cycle events we have ever done. It was boiling. I think it's probably the only event I've been asked to water to be thrown on people, because it was just, I think was it in London? It was the hottest, summer since records began. It was something ridiculous. Anyway,
oh my goodness.
Even with all that, everyone completed it. And I think that's what's amazing about these charity events. That's brilliant. It's massive personal challenge and while raising money for a great cause. And it's just really nice to kind of be there and kind of not only doing the logistics, but also seeing actually them achieve their goals and actually getting to the end. It's a really good moment.
It's amazing. As somebody that's not a cyclist in any way, shape or form, I can only sort of tip my hat in admiration to the distances you guys are all doing together, especially. Yeah, it kind of pushed me back in my seat a bit talking about some of these distances. But it's going back to sort of Andy and Kenton. So, is this? Have you been on a number of the ones in the past? Speaking as a complete novice to all of this, how many would this be for you guys? Do you think?
So, I've written the ones down that I've done.
Oh, great!
I go back to 2014 was my first, which was John O'Groats to Land's End. And then I did top to bottom of Ireland, top to bottom of Wales. I've done the Paris to London, the famous hot one. And I've been to a couple of the cycling conferences in Mallorca.
Oh, amazing.
So quite a few of them. And I think Kenton beats me on another John O'Groats one.
So, yeah, I mean, I've done a similar amount probably to Andy. I did John O'Groats to Land's End, which I think, as I referred to, was my first one. Other events I've done, I did the South Downs Way on mountain bikes, which was really good. I've done Wales top to bottom, Ireland top to bottom. I did the Paris to London, and then I've done 2 different coast to coasts. One was up north, Whitehaven to Tynemouth, and then the other one was a south coast to coast as well. So yeah, I've done a fair number, and I've done 2 cycling conferences as well. So done a fair bit.
So we've got. I mean, obviously, the next question is going to be which is each of your favourite events so far. That goes to all 3 of you now. Like, I want to know. Which are your favourites and why? Because, I mean, obviously, some are going to be different. It's not necessarily longest is the best, or it might be, but which out of all the events that you guys have done, which would be the favourite and most memorable ones?
Well, I think it's very interesting because actually on the Paris to London event was actually how probably one of my favourite events was born. So even though it was hot as everything, and I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was in a restaurant in Calais.
Yeah.
Half the team were there, and I got some of the team were still coming because it was so many. And what I love about these charity events, you do get people of all abilities, and we really try and cater to all abilities. So our support team will be like helping maybe the people who are slightly maybe not as experienced cyclists as others. So we were definitely sitting in a restaurant. I was sitting in a restaurant. I was obviously getting the nice end of the deal that day with some of the faster cyclists, and they was talking about what they actually like doing as part of cycling. And someone mentioned, I'm not sure. I think, was it you, Andy? I don't know.
It was me. I'm going to stick my hand in now and say it's my idea.
Or someone.
Someone who might have been me.
Okay, Andy suggested that he basically was like, we love cycling, it's hot anyway, we should be cycling in Mallorca in April because that's when all the cyclists go. And I know some of other dentists had also had their experience and they loved it as well. And the people that were sitting around that table who had never done it were actually just thinking, well, that sounds a great idea. And so basically they just turned around to me and said, right, Kathryn, right, we would like next year to go to Mallorca for a cycle conference in April. Can you sort it out for us? So I went away, spoke to obviously the boss, Simon, and you know what, we do actually appreciate and listen to what everyone's saying, and we turned it around. And roll on 2018, we had our cycle conference in Mallorca. And that, I think, is definitely one of my favourite events that we've done. It's beautiful. We stay in the Zephyr Palace Hotel. For those who've not been, it's a beautiful 5-star hotel. It's got it's got a whole garage of bikes below, and it's kind of very professional, very beautiful German bikes, which are just amazing. We've got an amazing cycle guide, the Mallorca Cycling, who take us all over the island. And you have my face and also Simon's face usually every year, who kind of support, give out jelly babies, and hopefully just kind of make sure every aspect of your trip is relaxing and that you can just focus on the cycling. And it's not bad doing it in a nice, warm environment anyway. So most people, we had in 2018, I think we had about 30 people join us, but then in 2019, it went up to over 40 people, which was fantastic.
Oh, fantastic.
So I know 2020 couldn't happen. I know 2021 couldn't happen.
Yeah.
Circumstances, but we are coming back 2022. We're bringing cycle conference, or what we're calling it now, the Discover Cycling, back to Mallorca. So I'm looking forward to it. So I hope some of us, I hope people who have already been are going to go again, and hope you'll get a lot of new faces as well.
Oh, brilliant. So I'm going to ask now, I'm going to be very frank. So what are we going to say about our top? I'm going to come to each of you now. What are your favourite moments or your least favourite moments? And, maybe we'll keep it a bit PG if we can. But we don't have to worry about it too much. We are adults. We're all adults here. But, certainly I think everyone's a bit curious to see what are going to be the highs and what are going to be the lows if they were to be joining you guys on these events.
So shall I go?
Yeah,
so
please.
I've written down my favourites and my least favourites, and generally speaking, the favourites far outweigh the least favourites. That's got to be said, because you've got to compare what you're doing. You're sitting on a bike, not working, and Denplan are looking after you. So whatever level, that's still better than being at work. So you've got to keep that in mind. But certainly the first 2 days of Paris to London, I really, really loved it because it was hot, properly hot, and there's no better place to cycle than when it's warm. The French roads tend to be beautifully smooth, as are the Mallorcan ones, of course. And the traffic is, much kinder to cyclists. And we had a good, rapid group who stuck together quite nicely. And as Kathryn said, there's lots of different abilities. But if you can get into a good group and have a good natter on the way, it really makes the event. So I definitely enjoyed that. The Mallorca conferences are just fantastic because you completely concentrate on the cycling. You haven't got to worry about anything else. Because you're out of the country, no one can get hold of you. It's just concentrated. And you literally eat, drink, and cycle almost like a professional because it's all you do. You get up, you eat, you go cycling, you come in afterwards, shower, eat, go to bed. And I think Kathryn will probably back me up in saying that we're a fairly easy bunch on the cycling conference because we're tired and they can put us to bed. And there's no late night stuff going on. It's absolutely knackered.
Very early nights.
Nice and early nights. So mum and dad, or Simon and Kathryn as they're sometimes known, have nothing to worry about. And then the other end of the spectrum, Kathryn will remember this, and so will Kenton. Day 3 of John O'Groats to Land's End. It was coming into the Scottish borders. We woke up and it was absolutely tipping it down with rain. Now, I'm not a fair weather cyclist, but it's much more pleasant to cycle in the sunshine, obviously. But it was tipping it down rain. By the first break, we were absolutely soaked. I was freezing cold. And I thought, what am I doing here? Fortunately, Simon and Kathryn had parked up the truck in a car park which had a public loo, and in the public loo was a hand dryer. So I sat under the hand dryer trying to warm myself up for about 20 minutes, and that literally saved my life, that hand dryer. So that was my worst moment. But as I say, those sort of moments are very rare indeed.
But also those are the ones that you're going to be, well, like we've just done, it's the story that you're bringing home.
Definitely. And any other bad moments that happen, it means I'm hungry. And Kathryn now knows this.
Absolutely.
So if you look up the word hangry in the dictionary, there's a picture of me off my bike.
Constant supply of snacks.
Yes.
Absolutely. This is what Kit Kat Chunkies.
Kit Kat Chunky, just feed me and I'm okay.
See, I myself, I trail run, so it's not the same as much as you guys, but I do know about the importance of a mid-race refuel. But,
Yeah.
how about yourself, Kenton? Can you tell us about your top moments?
So
and your hangry moments, maybe.
So yeah, I've had my fair share of hangry moments, I'm pretty sure, but I try to keep that under wraps as much as possible. So probably my favourite event, I suppose I would have to say it was John O'Groats to Land's End, because mainly it was because my first event, it was the biggest challenge into the sort of the hitherto unknown world of cycling. And essentially just got to know all the Denplan team and just thought it was such great fun that I wanted to do it again and again. So probably as an event, that was my favourite one. I can't think of a better feeling than when you arrive at Land's End and you've just got those last 2 or 3 miles to go, and you arrive and kind of there's obviously quite a throng of people waiting for you to arrive, and you realise that you've done it. It's just the most amazing feeling. And I think Denplan had laid on kind of champagne and things for us at the time, and so yeah, literally you arrive, you've got a glass of champagne in your hand and you realise you've done it. And so that was probably my favourite, followed secondly by the Ireland top to bottom, which was, I hadn't done a cycling event for a long time, and I've been doing some studying because I did a part-time master's degree and consequently wasn't training as much as I should have done. And I kind of went to the Ireland event thinking, well, it's only 400 miles. I know I can do 100 miles a day. I'm going to be a bit slow, but never mind. Turned up, and it turned out that the rest of the bunch were quite an elite bunch of cyclists, and we're saying, right, okay, we're going to go as a peloton. Everybody's going to be taking a turn at the front, and consequently, it was a bit of a baptism of fire for me. I think Andy would probably tell you that. And to be honest, day one, I struggled a little bit, but I think eventually by the end of the 4 days, I was quite fit. Managed to sort of keep up just about, and we did it really quite quickly. It's the fastest event I've ever done, so I felt like that was a bit of an achievement as well. And plus it was being Ireland, it was mandatory to drink Guinness as immediately on arrival each day, which was quite good. Took away some of the pain of the aching muscles. So yeah, it was just, and that one again, it was just another amazingly well organised event, which I've got many happy memories of.
That's brilliant. So, a friend of mine who's an endurance athlete always swears upon Guinness purely for the iron content. This is the iron.
It's amazing stuff.
It's good to replenish your levels after a race. Is grab a quick Guinness, and then you can get on with your day. Is how he puts it. So, but this is a man that runs 100 miles in like periods of time, and I just couldn't fathom it. But similar to yourselves, this is an amazing achievement that you guys are doing. I just want to sort of maybe recognize from an outsider how amazing these things are. Like, I could never sort of think about that sort of distance myself.
Yeah, the island top to bottom was something different. Like that I really don't know what happened, because our normally events are not quite that fast in speed or being in a peloton. It was, to be honest, they were so fast at some points and we almost missed them at checkpoints because they were almost like a blur.
Oh my gosh.
Because what we do is we try and meet our cyclists a couple of times on the route, make sure they're okay, stocked up, got jelly beans, edit that bit out, jelly babies.
I don't.
I'm leaving it in.
Jelly babies, water and all that. But I must say they were going so fast that we were kind of getting to a point and they were almost going past us. So that was incredibly impressive, especially at that speed. So yeah, amazing. It's absolutely incredible. So it's like seeing a professional team, almost thinking about entering them into the Olympics, the Denplan team.
But we do have to stress that that was that particular event. And it so happened that there were 10 or 12 of us who were all up for that type of event. So all the other events, it tends to split naturally into the groups of the speed you want to go. So anybody listening to this thinking, well, I can't do that, so I don't want to have any part of this. That's not the way it is. It absolutely breaks down into the speed you want to go. So
you'll always get support from the team anyway. So even if you are whatever speed you are, you'll kind of be well looked after. So I would concur with that. It was just that we were all of a mind to sort of go in a peloton, which probably I should have been a bit fitter for it. So it was my fault.
Well, you still managed to finish it, so as an achievement unto itself.
It was that feedback actually that we actually for the cycle conference that we were doing, Discover Cycling, is that we decided to put kind of almost distinct ability groups in. And so people could work depending on what ability that they know they're at, they can put themselves into their group. And that we did that kind of on miles as well as speed, which I never really thought about until, this all events are a learning. I never really thought about speed being a factor until we actually done Ireland. But it means that more people are more comfortable. So in the first year we had, I think we had 2 levels, and in 2019 we had 3 levels. And actually this year coming, we're actually thinking now about 4 levels. So you've got the red, amber, green, who are cycling slightly different distances, kind of going lower, and slightly different speeds. And we're kind of also putting on what we call a purple group, which is just for the partners who just want to have and enjoy cycling, maybe just up and down the kind of the coast. So really it is going to be an event for everyone, depending on how much or how little you want to do.
That's brilliant. I love the ability for us to be able to make this more accessible as it goes through as well. I mean, as you were saying, that Kenton, that might have been a particularly tricky one for you when you did the Ireland one, but fortunately you were able to go through and you were amongst sort of a like-minded group. Our adaptability, as Kathryn was saying as well, I think that's really shining through to help anyone that might feel a little bit like myself. This is an intimidating climb, but being able to be in a position now where we've got so much, I think is testament to how well these are organised.
Absolutely.
Well, I've got to say yes because I organise them, don't I? I'll give a false name if you don't like the organisation.
Just so that Simon did that one. If there's anything wrong, it was Simon's fault.
Oh yeah, he's not here.
All the good stuff was Kathryn. But dentists are a fairly vocal bunch, and if something's not right, they will tell you, because and that's the way it needs to be. And they'll tell you constructively that maybe doing it this way might be better. But I think those moments are rare because it's usually pretty spot on straight away.
Yeah.
I think also
you go.
So I was just going to say also the fact that you've got quite a number of dentists that year in, year out will do these events. So, if things weren't right, they weren't happy, then they wouldn't be doing them. But there's an ever-growing sort of group of dentists that can't wait to get involved in these events. And I think, it would be good to get more people involved, because I think a lot of people don't do it because they don't know about it. But once they've been on one, they tend to want to go back and do another one. So, that speaks for itself, really.
Yeah,
and I'm very much looking forward to, I know Kenton and Andy, you're both joining us, but we couldn't wait until 2022, to be honest. Everything's opening up now. I was desperate to see our clients and actually get out there and do some cycling. So we've got, in September, we're doing a Discover Cycling in the New Forest in Brockenhurst, where we're having a day. Actually, we're kind of going out the first day to Isle of Wight, where we're going to have a bit of cycling down the Isle of Wight in 2 groups, and then we're going to do a bit in the second day in the New Forest, exploring the New Forest. And I just think it's going to be a really lovely event where we kind of get back together again. We're doing something that we love. We're getting to see each other, because it has been a long time, and I just hope that everyone's going to have a really great time. And if you enjoyed the organisation, it's me. If you don't, then it's someone else.
Oh, fabulous! But no, that's the thing, and and Andy and Kenton, you both signed up for the next one in the New Forest in the Isle and on the Island of Wight?
Yes,
Absolutely, yeah.
definitely. So we both live very close. So I live in Bournemouth. So the New Forest is my cycling playground, and Kenton also lives in the area. So from that point of view, this is our backyard. This is where we train day in, day out. The Isle of Wight's a little bit of an adventure, and I think in these lockdown times, going over on a ferry to somewhere, it'll actually feel like you're going on holiday.
Yeah.
So I've done the route. I've planned the route around the Isle of Wight, and Kenton will tell you about the routes around the New Forest. And so the Isle of Wight route is about 60 miles. It's quite hilly, and it should take us maybe 4 hours of cycling time. Obviously, we've got food stops, we've got a lunch stop. Obviously, there will be Kit Kat chunkies, and if there's not, there will be words.
Noted.
Hey, listen, I'm just over the water, so if you need some emergency Kit Kat chunkies and somebody to come by on the ferry, let me know.
We do also have we also do have a so you're doing the red group, aren't you, Andy? We also have a smaller group, kind of, we're calling it the amber group, but it's kind of very much merged between green and amber. As if we've done Discover Cycling in New York before, and it's going to be a smaller route, about 40 miles, smaller speeds, a lot more stops.
Yes.
I think I'd be in that group if I had the choice.
Well, I'm happy to jump in the any support vehicle and monitor the snacks. Take some photos for Instagram and Facebook, and just generally be a cheerleader, a well-fed cheerleader. So oh dear. So what sort of, speaking as a bit of a novice, what sort of events would you like to do in the future? Any sort of cycle experiences or events that you've sort of got your eye on that we might be able to help with or look at?
So I think so. It's 7 years since we did John O'Groats to Land's End.
I think it's around time for round 2.
I think we need another. I really do.
That would be fantastic.
Kathryn, take note.
I'm not acknowledging it.
No pressure.
It's officially on the record now, so
no pressure whatsoever.
Because we've got a new breed of cyclists that have been coming on the conference, and they haven't done this event yet. So I think we need to break them in gently.
Would you two both do it again?
Yeah, of course.
I think I would. Yeah, I'd like to give it a go.
I think
We'll set it up if you two sign up.
Yeah. It must be like having children, because the pain, you forget about it eventually and you go and have another kid. So I think joggle's a bit like that. And then I was actually chatting to Simon relatively recently, because I keep going on about the red group, which is the faster group. There are times when you really want to do something outrageous and outlandish that no other normal people would want to do. And so we did chat a little bit about doing an alpine mini break of maybe 3 or 4 days of cycling in the Alps. Clearly for only those people who want that sort of thing. And again, there's no reason why you can't have some CPD thrown in at the same time. But that idea seemed really good to me. A mini break in the Alps doing some cycling would be fantastic.
I think especially if you're saying about like making those sort of accessibility groups as well, so giving somebody their first sort of experience of something along those lines that might not be as serious or severe as some of the routes that you chaps may be going on. But again, I'm happy to attend and look after snacks and sit in a van and just cheer and wave.
It's a very hard work doing support. Just to say.
I'm sure. I'm very willing. I'm very willing to work hard. I will.
Oh. Probably the most worrying bit is like you just hope you're going to catch everyone and make sure you get all those cups of tea sorted, because like Andy said, when you get a load of people coming in and they're just wet, you just feel you just want to do as much as you can to kind of help them out.
Yeah.
But then you do kind of shout at them when you're going up the hill, come on, you can do it.
How about you, Kenton? Is there anything that you'd like to see in the future? That any goals on the horizon?
To be honest with you, I'd really love to do the John O'Groats to Land's End again. I mean, I've told you about my career path, which seems to have gone full circle in a number of ways. And maybe it's right time for me to now do John O'Groats to Land's End again before I'm kind of too old and too tired. So
sounds like fate to me. I think.
Yeah, well, yeah, it could be. So,
Kathryn.
Oh my! Well, I will put it in the ideas pot.
You should have been a politician.
Well, the thing is, maybe people listening to this podcast can actually kind of vote on it. And if you are wanting to do John O'Groats to Land's End, then drop us an email, events@simplyhealth.co.uk, and just say, Kathryn, I want to do joggle, and we will see if we can plan for you. So
yes,
you guys, people that are listening, you vote.
Also, don't feel free to drop us a message on our social channels as well. So email or get us on the social channels. As a custodian of our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn page, I can make sure it will get to Kathryn, especially if brides are a part of it.
Kit Kat Chunkies. Not sponsored in any way.
We are not affiliated. Other
bars are available.
So what is it about the Denplan events? What is it about the cycling events with Denplan that makes them different? And is it something, this is your chance to really flatter Kathryn into getting her to do the John O'Groats tour again? But in all seriousness, is it something that why is it that you do the cycle events with Denplan, and what makes them stand out if they do to any of the others?
I think it is just the level of support that we get, and also it's very friendly, very light-hearted. There's an awful lot of banter, you could say, goes on, and we have a joke, we have a laugh, but when the chips are down, if you have any sort of problem with your bike, or whether you're just tired or something like that, you could have a bad day on the bike, whatever, that those people are going to be there for you. So that's a big thing for me. Plus, the more events you do, also the more people you get to know, and from that point of view, it's like every time I do one of the events, it feels like I'm sort of meeting friends I haven't seen in a long time. So there's a good chance to catch up. So for me, every event I've been on feels like being on holiday. So that they're some of my favorite holidays. That's how I kind of remember most of the events I've done. So
yeah, absolutely. So I've tried to organise bits and bobs myself, and it is a nightmare. And the biggest nightmare is the preamble. It's getting everything in place before you even go. And when you've got a Denplan events team to do all of that bit, it makes your life so much easier as a punter, because all the information comes through. Basically, what you've got to do is pay some money, be at a certain place at a certain time, and they'll organise the rest, and that makes a massive difference. And then, as Kenton has said, on the events themselves, particularly joggle, you were never more than 25 miles away from the next stop. And so you could break those big, long days of 100-milers down into little segments, and mentally it made life a lot easier, that you could just know, there's the truck, there's my Kit Kat, or the next one is a lunch stop, and then there's a mid-afternoon stop maybe, and then you're home and you're done. And it was a great way of breaking it all up. So it just takes the organizational part of it away from you, so you can just concentrate on why you're there, which is cycling and chatting to people, and as Kenton said, meeting new people. So these people will know who I'm talking about, but there's the Scottish contingent, there's the Cumbrian contingent. These are people I would never have met in my life, and now I count them as proper friends. And when we meet up at the conference, it's like, oh wow, I haven't seen you for ages, and it's really good. So it's that's why I think Denplan wins on this sort of organisation.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Okay, fine. I'll think about juggle then. Oh, gosh, you know how to get me.
Oh dear. Well, I think that kind of wraps it up, really. I mean, it's so lovely to hear about the experiences that you've all had, and it's really interesting. I'm sure that any of our listeners are going to be sort of either champing at the bit totally to start coming one of our events now or to get involved. So, Kathryn, what would be the best way for anyone who would like to get involved to sort of reach out or to find out more?
Yeah, absolutely. It's probably best to head to the events website, which will be in some sort of description bio below here, I believe. And really think about coming. Our next event is going to be Discover Cycling 2020. That's back in Mallorca at the Zafiro Palace Hotel, like I said, 5-star hotel. I'm not sure if the date is truly very well known, so this might be a bit of a sneak peek for some people. Get it in the diary, Monday the 25th of April to Friday the 29th of April. It's a whole week's conference. Literally, when I said it's suitable for everyone, it is. Choose your ability group. If you don't fancy cycling one day, go and spend it at the pool. That's absolutely fine. And that's, again, if you don't want to cycle at all, you can do that. You get CPD, you get to see everyone, and hopefully, like these guys, you'll have some memories to take home with you afterwards as well. So hopefully you'll see everyone who's been there before and a lot of new faces too.
Can I just say that I've always managed to manipulate Kathryn into getting the date right with the conference, because on Saturday the 30th of April is the 312, which is the big race on Mallorca every year. So actually, the Denplan conference is a lovely preamble to the big event, which is the 312 race. So no, it just fits. If you're into your cycling and you want to do the 312, going on this event is perfect, because you literally the next day you can go and do that race.
Fabulous. Well, and so I think that does kind of tidy it all up. Like I say, I'm going to do my my utmost to make sure I can get there to, keep track of everything and update everybody from a social media perspective. I'm going to be alive on the scene. I'm happy to report. But I just wanted to thank everyone for sort of taking the time out of your days to come on today. So Kenton, Andy, thank you for joining. And Kathryn, thank you for organising and for joining, for taking part as well. So if anyone does have any questions, reach out to us via email. Those are going to be in the description below, or you can reach out to social.media@simplyhealth.co.uk and I can get those emails passed on to the right people. Thanks again, everyone. And I'll see you all next time. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.